Alright, we are back for another game, and this time we're using the Vendilion Clique. I just picked this up. This is my third game with the commander, and it has been performing as well as I had hoped. I'm playing against Jolt 539, pretty good sport. Grimgrin Corpseborn. Very potent Demir commander. I've seen this play blue-black control really well with just a few infinite combos. Grimgrin enables a couple of them, and other than that, is a solid blue-black commander. The only drawback is you really have to be creature-centric. You can't play like a 6-creature list. You need to make sure that you have enough to be able to take advantage of Grimgrin, or have a way to tutor them out, or produce tokens repeatedly. So something like Bitter Blossom is fantastic with Grimgrin, because it says 1 life per turn, untap Grimgrin, and destroy target creature defending player controls when it attacks. So Bitter Blossom is fantastic in this list. You can play stuff with that with like Contamination Locks, because you're already playing a creature heavy list anyway. So Grimgrin is very potent, and there's a lot of different ways that it can take. I have a very good hand. If it had one more blue source, this would be fantastic. But looking at how this is, I at least am going to have Thought Vessel on turn 2, turn 3. If I draw a blue source, I'll have Sapphire Medallion and Vendilion Clique on his draw. So I decided to keep this hand. Rewind, Memory Lapse, and Hinder. Pretty decent counterspells. I just need that second blue source. Alright. So I believe I lost the dice roll. Just good luck, have fun messages. And they lead Marsh Flats, go. Alright. What am I going to draw? Soul Ring. Well, that makes this hand a lot better. So now, because of the ring, instead of turn 2 Thought Vessel, I get to go land, Soul Ring, Thought Vessel. Just like that. Turn 2, I'm going to be having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. This is why Soul Ring is busted and deserves to be banned along with Mana Crypt. Mana Vault I have less of an issue with because it's basically a colorless ritual. So I think Mana Vault is fair, but Soul Ring is definitely not a fair card. It shouldn't be in this format. So they go with Swamp and ship it back. I mean, I'm sure they can't be happy about this start. So I draw Ponder. Excellent. So I'm going to Ponder here to find my second blue source. And we see Senses Divining Top. Alright, that'll be good later. An Island, and the Steel Sabotage. So there's no temptation to take the top here because I would just top draw into the island anyway. How about I just take the island? I want to be able to have Memory Lapse in case he does something gross like Phyrexian Arena. So top goes underneath that. So top will be on top of my deck. And there's Medallion. So now I have Memory Lapse, and so I was able to develop my board and have Memory Lapse backup. That is the power of Soul Ring. So they go for a Sunken Hollow. Good tap land when you don't need it right away. And they just ship it back. And now that he's missed a land drop, I gave thought to not clicking him and using click to cycle a card out of my own hand. I really don't want to draw him into more lands. I have the mana advantage here. So if I can keep him off lands, it might be a good way to close out the game with my 3-1. I ultimately decide against it, because I want to know what he's working with. So I almost clicked through my turn there. You saw I jumped all the way to main 2. Play the Laboratory, and use the Thought Vessel to run out top. This is a lesson in mana management. You always use the things that can be destroyed. Like, if it doesn't matter if I use Thought Vessel or Riptide, I'd rather use the Thought Vessel up, so that way if, God forbid, like, he has it's not really relevant against blue-black commanders, but if somehow he can turn off the Thought Vessel, I'm not losing out on a mana, so to speak. I suppose Wasteland's a potential here, but seeing how he's stuck on lands, I don't even think he would waste my lands because it puts him back further. It doesn't really hurt my mana development at all. Until Riptide becomes a problem with the second ability, returning wizards, it's not worth spending wastelands, trading your land drop for one of mine. Because I'm already ahead in the mana department. Alright, so he gets a land, Cephalid Coliseum. That's fine. It's going to be hurting him. This is a 40 life format, so it doesn't matter. Chromatic Lantern. That is not going to happen. So I could Memory Lapse or hinder this, but I decided to use the most mana intensive one to get out of my hand as soon as possible. And Rewind lets me untap my lands and get Clique down and start a clock. And that's the real reason I decided to go with that. Alright, so Clique comes down, and I shoot at his hand. Alright, Patriarch's Bidding, 5 mana. Not worried about that yet. Sword of Vengeance. The haste is a big issue, but the Vigilance First Strike Trample is also terrifying. Unhallowed Cloak, Vigilance Trample Haste, so it doesn't give First Strike, which this does, and this doesn't give +2, so Sword will eat one of these counterspells at some point, I'm sure. Doomblade. Doomblade's the real issue here. I don't want to have to spend one of my counters on just protecting Clique. And if I spend Memory Lapse, I'm just getting some tempo. I'm not actually dealing with the Doomblade permanently. So I decided to take out the removal here. He's at 3 mana, so at most next turn, if he draws a land, he's only deploying one of these. Whereas if he draws a 1-drop spell, he can deploy Doomblade and the 1 mana spell next turn. So I want to lock him to as few spells as possible per turn. Clique is a tempo deck, and making sure he can only do one thing per turn allows this deck to keep tempo. So I choose to put Doomblade on the bottom, and Steel Sabotage. Well, that's fantastic. I saw 2 juicy artifacts in his hand. And in we come with Clique. I neglected the Sensei's top on his end step. I realized that now, and decided to do it. So, Crystal Shard, Island, Aether Mage. Well, Aether Mage is definitely the top here, because I have a lovely wizard in this deck that is just so good with Riptide Laboratory. So Clique comes in, and first hit with Clique, so counter 3. He gets a land, but it's a tap land. That's okay. I know his entire hand still. Sword of Vengeance. Alright, well, I was ready for this, and I drew the perfect counter with Steel Sabotage. So that's an easy snap. And he's had a stop on my upkeep for some reason. I don't know if it's a default or not. I knew I was drawing the Aether Mage, so I didn't bother topping on end step. I accept that I'm not going to get a land drop this turn because I'd rather keep top around than have a land, since I plan on cycling this anyway. Haunted Cloak. Well, that's fine. I suppose we'll Memory Lapse that. I noticed that he didn't play a land first, so this is that tempo game I was just talking about. So next turn, instead of drawing a land, he'll be drawing Haunted Cloak. And he's still stuck with 5 mana spells in his hand that aren't doing anything. So we're going to cycle the Aether Mage and get Glenelyn Archmage. Sorry, I skipped through that. I've made a few changes to the deck recently, and I think it's going to be a good update. I've been talking with Brian Weissman. You'll find him here on YouTube. I'll link his channel in the description. And you'll find him on MTGO a lot. He has the Sarah Angel avatar. He's a very accomplished player. You might also know him. He's the original author of the control deck known as The Deck, back in the annals of Magic history. He's a very accomplished control player, and I've been getting his feedback on my list so far. He just uploaded a video where I had a very degenerate start similar to this game. He's a great guy. I've been enjoying talking with him, and I'll link his video. I hope you enjoy some of his videos as well. So I go for the Glenelandra. I have Riptide in play, and this is just all of the tempo this deck could need to close out. And we've hit for 6 so far, if my count's correct. So we're going to land, and just to make sure he doesn't have anything mid-combat, we're going to deploy Glenelandra. We have the Hinder, which might actually try to save as long as possible. We are down to 2 blue, so we are either using Glenalandra this turn or Hinder. We can't keep up both. But if we can survive this turn without having to go shields down 2 spells off him, we should be good. But because we memory lapsed the following turn, we still know all of the cards in his hand but one. Kalidas. Alright, well, Kalidas is fine with me. Just not quite yet. So I'm going to top in response, see Gilded Lotus, Pithing Needle, and Miscalculation. So Lotus, I really don't need the mana at this point, so Lotus is definitely going to the bottom. Needle could be useful. I'd probably in the dark name Grimgrin or Cephalid Coliseum, just to keep him from draw off here, or Grimgrin's activated ability of sacrificing a creature. But Miscalc is the card we want on top of the deck. But I'm going to make the tempo play again and use the Hinder. I know he's not playing anything that Glenalandra needs to hit, so Hinder onto the top of their library. Let me see if that'll pop up. Puts Kalidas Trader of Get on top of the library. And that's not a play that you usually see with Hinder. Hinder, you usually think bottom of library. But I choose top. It's just the tempo play again. I want him to be missing land drops, drawing the same dead cards over and over again. No need to top. We already looked. We know we're drawing Miscalculation. And if I decide not to counter anything, I can always cycle this. I'm going to get in for another 3 with the Clique. That is, let's see, 12 total damage so far. So it's starting to add up. We are 3 turns away from winning with Clique. And Read the Bones. Well, that was the one unknown card. And Read the Bones cannot happen. I've been playing this mana denial game. Read the Bones could get him out of this. So I have the option of either miscalcing or the Glenalandra, but seeing as after looking with Sensei's top, I can predict what I'm going to be doing next turn, which is just playing a land and not doing anything else. So I'd rather use Glenalandra here and then use Riptide on the end step, and on my turn, because I wasn't doing anything else, recast the Glenalandra for 3 because of Sapphire Medallion. Because I'm not using the mana any other way next turn, and I have more than enough mana. Especially considering I'm going to draw an island. So now I'll have land, Glenalandra, Miscalc, and an activation of Glenalandra available because I have three blue after this. So I can use Glenalandra twice for 2 blue, and then Miscalc for a single blue as well. So I'm really in a driver's position here. 15 damage. And I'm surprised they didn't scoop to the Riptide play with Glenalandra. I don't think they understand how devastating this is going to be for them. I'm never going to let them resolve non-creature spells. Alright, so Kalidas, Mask of Memory. One of the new additions to the deck with Vendilion Clique. Mostly I include this just because it's draw power and filtering power. But right here, I'm going to be able to miscalc the Kalidas, cast Mask of Memory, and clear out this nasty stuff on top that I'm seeing with top. So I can start seeing new cards every turn. So easy miscalc there. Draw the mask. Get the mask on the Clique. In for 18. Alright, so the mask really lets me see up to 5 cards because it will draw the 2 that I had floating with top that I wanted to clear out. Now top will let me see another 3. So it's guaranteed. I'm trying to put myself in a position where I guarantee that I have 1 more turn to hit him with Clique. So 3 lands, Bloodline Keeper. Alright, well I can't counter that with Glenalandra, so let's see what's on top. Alright, Strip Mine, Mana Crypt, and Expedition Map. Those not the cards I wanted to see, but I suppose it'll have to do. So I'm going to put Map on top. I mostly want it just for the shuffle effect here. And I know Bloodline Keeper has to trump Vendilion Clique. Vendilion Clique has turned into the abyss for me, because every turn he has to block it if it's in play, or die. So I'm going to move the mask over to guarantee the loot, because I know Glenalandra is going to get in. Crash in. He blocks as expected. If he had gotten this down sooner, I think this would have been a different game. But there was no way he was going to resolve that. If I knew he had the Kalidas, I still had a counterspell at that point. There was no way this was going to come down if I could help it. So I get to pick up 2. I don't need the needle. Grimgrin's not coming down. There's nothing really that I care about naming here. I think I go with Crypt, and he packs it in. Seeing that Crypt is going to allow me to go use 2 islands and cast Clique on his turn, he basically needs to have an answer to Clique, and I don't think there's anything that he can do at that point. He's not going to be able to get a non-creature spell, so what I'd be able to do is use the Crypt and island cast Clique. Soul Ring plus Riptide, because I don't foresee myself needing to reset this, plays Map. And then I have island up, and I strip one of his lands. Though he doesn't know about the strip mine, so I put him down to 3 lands. Probably strip this one, because this is guaranteed to enter tapped if he somehow got it back. So, the Darkslick Shores, that is. And I'd be able to Expedition Map for probably Blighted Cataract, and draw an additional 2 the following turn, just to try to get the Clique in if he had somehow resolved a creature off 3 mana and none that I remembered in his hand. So, seeing the Crypt and my ability to deploy Clique, he packs it in. This was a great display of how good this deck is with Clique at the helm, and how much tempo they can create when they get going. It's just a clock that your opponent can't deal with. And once you get them down, you just play the counter game. You have way more time than they do. So I really enjoyed this game, and I wanted to send it up to the channel as my first game uploaded with Clique. The other 2 games that I've played have bugs early on in them, so I wasn't really able to get any good gameplays out of them. But thankfully, this one works. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.